This is an LMC Media community conversation. I'm Maura Carlin. Today's topic is redistricting, redrawing the voting districts following the results of the 2020 US Census. A complicated topic fraught with controversy. Louise Perez from the Larchmont Mamaroneck League of Women Voters is here to explain it to us. Louise, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with why this is so important.
Okay, it's important because the voting districts for your congressional districts, your state assembly and senate districts, as well as the county districts, are set for the next 10 years. And so, you know, there's no going back after the district lines have been drawn.
The redistricting impact on Larchmont and Mamaroneck isn't new. The community was redistricted after the 2010 census. We moved to a different district from Representative Nia Lowy, which was a solidly Westchester district, to one then represented by Elliot Engel, which included parts of the Bronx and is now covered by Jamal Bowman. Why does it seem Larchmont Mamaroneck keeps getting moved? Is that typical?
Oh, it's typical. You know, redistricting happens every 10 years. Because of the shifts in population and the US Census data. It's until this redistricting process in 2021 and 22, it was the New York State Legislature that did the redistricting. And the House, the assembly of the legislature would draw the assembly lines, and the Senate, the state Senate would draw their lines. And, you know, there was really no public input. The congressional lines were usually drawn by the courts because the assembly and the Senate couldn't reach a consensus on the line. So the process was thrown to the courts. This year, it's different because in 2014, New York voters passed an amendment to the Constitution to create an independent redistricting commission. And so this is why people like me got involved and gave testimony and tried to make a difference.
Right, so the process was different this time in that the IRC, the Independent Redistricting Commission, was supposed to submit a plan, and instead it submitted two, which were both partisan, one from Democrats and one from Republicans. And we ended up with a plan that the congressional district for Larchmont Mamaroneck was actually split up. I think they split the town and they split the village of Mamaroneck. And you testified about that to the IRC. And after that, the IRC didn't have just one plan. So the legislator then came in and took over. Do I have that right? And the legislature created a plan?
Yeah, basically, I gave public testimony along with a lot of other New Yorkers around the state last fall. And the points I made in my testimony was that we wanted the Larchmont Mamaroneck community to be in one district, and we would like to see other longshore communities in Westchester be in the same district because, you know, that's an important issue for all of us on the Sound Shore. And that we thought that a Westchester-centered district, you know, was practical, was obvious.
So a plan came out and we ended up with a district with Sound Shore interest, but it is not Westchester centric as it includes the northern parts of Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk County. Can you explain how we came to that and the commonalities and differences between our part of Westchester and that part of Long Island?
Okay. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when the state legislature was determining how the district lines would be drawn. But as you know, Steve Otis explained to me that the districts have to be equal in number. And in New York, when they do redistricting, they start with Long Island, the Montauk on the end, Suffolk County on one end, and the northern part of the state on the other. And they do those districts, and then they work toward the middle and ends up in Westchester. So, that's sort of a problem. We get squeezed, and since the districts have to be exact in number, we get either part of the Bronx like we did in the last redistricting, or in this redistricting process, it's a horseshoe district.
So is there a concern that Westchester's interests are being diluted or compromised at a time when Westchester's population has actually grown?
Yeah, well, when people from Westchester gave testimony, there were several of us that advocated for a district to include all the Long Island Shore communities. Then there were people on the other side of the county that advocated for, Hudson River Valley districts. And I think the legislators, saw that, and they sort of tried to piece together those interests. And that's how we ended up with.
Should we be concerned that this is being gerrymandered?
It sort of looks like it's gerrymandered, although, one of the things in the law is that the districts have to take into account communities of interest, which means they, our community of interest really is Long Island Sound, although we have other pockets of community of interest, maybe like the Hispanic community or schools or transportation. But we have a lot in common with those northern Long Island districts. They're
Suburban districts.
They're suburban. They have transportation issues. Their big issue, like ours, is Long Island Sound.
Okay.
That was the rationale.
Louise, there are others, though, who think it's not gerrymandered enough, that the Democrats in charge should make the lines to get rid of, let's say, far-right Republicans. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the Republicans are already, going to court over not only this district, but, other districts throughout the state.
So they are going to court over our district.
I don't know specifically if they're using that as an example, but I know the Republicans are trying to redo the maps. But once you redo a map in one area, it throws everything else off. So
let's talk about this new district. We are no longer, when I say we, the Larchmont Mamaroneck community, no longer is in Congressional District 16. There's a new Congressional District 3. So we're going to have to vote for new representation. What should we be looking for in the primaries and the general election this year?
Well, we should look to make sure that our interests are taken into account. Of the candidates that are running, there's only one from Westchester. That's Alexandra Biaggi.
Can you tell us who's running so far?
Yeah, so far, Alexandra Biaggi from Pelham. She's a current state senator. Melanie Darigo, she's a healthcare advocate and community organizer. John Kamen, he's the deputy county executive in Suffolk County. Joshua Lafazan, he's a legislator in Nassau County. Rima Rasul, she's a business advocate and activist. And Robert Zimmerman, a business owner and Democratic National Committee member. There's one
and
other.
Those are all for the Democratic primary?
Yeah, it's a big primary. There's actually going to be a primary forum debate on March 10th. If we should really pay attention to that if we're interested, because it's basically a Democratic district. And
Well, but
whoever wins the Democratic primary will probably be the one elected in November.
who though is running for the Republican Party? Are they having a primary?
So far, I don't think they're having a primary. There's only one declared candidate, and they have until the end of March to.
Who is that?
It's a fellow named George DeVolder Santos.
Okay. And he is from Long Island?
I believe so, yes.
So that's what's going on with our congressional district. For the state assembly district, it's largely the same, and that's represented currently by Steve Otis. But our state senate district is changing. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. 10 years ago in redistricting, our Senate district was really gerrymandered. And because at that time, it was the state Senate was controlled by the Republicans, and they were trying to make it a Republican district. So it went all the way from Yonkers, sort of snaked around through Lower Westchester, and then went all the way up to Northern Westchester, Bedford, areas that traditionally at that time were Republican. And they were trying to defeat George Latimer, who was in the Senate at the time. Well, it didn't turn out that way. But, we were stuck with that district, until now. And in fact, when I gave testimony at the hearing, that was one of my main points, was that the Senate district was terribly gerrymandered, and it should be more compact. Thank goodness.
And it's currently represented by Shelley Mayer.
It's currently, right. And fortunately, the legislature did pay attention, and they made our Senate district more compact. So Shelley is still our senator, but she doesn't have to go all the way up to Bedford and pay attention to those folks up there.
So Louise, where can people get more information about redistricting in New York?
Okay, I think the best place is the New York State League of Women Voters site. They have really brought together, all the information on redistricting. And that website is www.lwvny.org/redistricting.
I want to thank you for your time in trying to explain this difficult topic to all of us. Thank you, Louise Perez. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Media, I'm Maura Carlin.